Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. The first game I ever released was a game called Head Wizard, and I uploaded this game to the website KONGREGATE back in 2017. Here the game got over 150,000 gameplays, and today I want to tell you the story of how that happened. So up until February of 2017 I had been making games as a hobby for a very long time, but none of those games were actually ever finished, and I think this was due to the scope being too big. These games were too ambitious for one guy to just finish. So it was at this point where I watched an extra credits video about making your first game, where they also talked about scope, mainly that you have to scope your game realistically and make something that you can actually finish. So it was at this point where I set a goal. I wanted to make a game that I could upload to the website KONGREGATE, because I had been playing games there for a long time, and I had to be able to finish it in 2 months. So I thought I'll make a puzzle platformer with a wizard. After some brainstorming I came up with an idea. I wanted to make a game about a wizard that could throw his hat in any direction, and wherever the hat lands you could go there by clicking the mouse. I came up with a bunch of ideas for levels right away and I prototyped those, but then I hit a brick wall very quickly. So I thought, well, I have to think of something else, or at least add a new mechanic. And this is when I thought, well, maybe I can limit the throwing ability a little bit. So then I implemented that the player could only throw the hat onto enemies and not just throw the hat anywhere and teleport there. It had to be thrown onto an enemy, and then you could switch places with the enemy. After this, most of the basic mechanics were in place and I could just add a couple of levels and tweak a little bit. This adding levels and tweaking a little bit cost about 9 months though, so I underestimated it a lot, and I think it was October when I thought, well, I'll have to finish this project soon, and I had a bunch of stuff I wanted to do. And then in November I still had a bunch of stuff I wanted to do, and that was the point where I just said, well, you know, it's enough and I'll just upload it. So I implemented a menu screen and an end screen, and then I uploaded the game to KONGREGATE. This was a super exciting time. It was the first time I released a game into the public, and I remember checking the game page like every hour or so, and I think I probably accounted for 50% of the gameplays that were counted on the site in that first week. KONGREGATE also has a chat bar to the side of the game, and in this chat room I asked a couple of people if they wanted to play my game, and they did. Right away when they started playing the game they told me they couldn't quite get the instructions for the head throwing mechanic. They didn't understand what the meaning was. So I explained it to them in the chat, but I also made a note to myself that I had to fix the instructions for the head throwing. I think this was the single most important thing that happened after the launch of the game, because if I hadn't fixed the instructions then maybe most of the people would have just clicked away from the game if they didn't understand how to play. After about a week the game was sitting at around 200 or 300 gameplays. I think it had about 50 gameplays a day. So I was already thinking about, well, what game am I going to make next? I hadn't expected what came next, because the Monday after that week, before I went off to work, I checked the gameplay count and all of a sudden I saw it was at 1100. I couldn't believe it. There were comments from people I never met before, and I was totally not expecting this. So to my surprise, when I visited the hot new page of KONGREGATE, I saw Head Wizard was on there. At this point the game was being played around 2,000 to 3,000 times a day, and I saw people even put the game in their favorites list. After the sudden rise in popularity of the game, I thought, well, I want to reward the players for their support, so I implemented an extra level, the challenge level, and I think this is the only thing I regret doing in the development of the game, because I pretty much rushed out this level and it was way too hard. Normally the levels I made, I would have playtested them with a couple of friends and checked if they were too hard or not, and this one I didn't really playtest and just put it out there. At this point I think the rating probably took a big hit, so after this I learned, well, I have to stick to that lesson I learned from the extra credits video about scoping and not increasing the scope midway. This went out of the window with Head Wizard 2, but I'll cover that in another video. All in all, I think this was a great learning experience, and the popularity of Head Wizard 1 led me to make Head Wizard 2 and also a little spin-off for Christmas. And right now I'm working on a new Head Wizard game aimed at desktop, with even better quality. So it's awesome just thinking about how this little learning project, which was supposed to take only 2 months, just grew to be this big thing that would go on for a couple of years. I probably won't be done with Hat Wizard for a while, so if you want to stay updated on that, then please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. For now, I want to thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.